Chapter 7: The Collapse, Fall of the Mughal Empire. Introduction: The end of an era. Every empire that rises must one day fall. After centuries of glory, power, and cultural brilliance, the Mughal Empire, once the greatest force in the Indian subcontinent, began a slow and painful descent. What followed was not a sudden collapse, but a long, tragic unraveling. This is the story of decline, of lost authority, of shattered unity, and of an empire that faded into history. Chapter 1: The Era of Weak Emperors. After the death of Aurangzeb in 1707, the Mughal Empire stood vast but hollow. Aurangzeb had expanded the empire to its greatest territorial extent, but he left behind an exhausted treasury, an overextended army, and deep internal divisions. What followed was a tragic pattern. In less than 50 years, the Mughal throne witnessed more than 15 emperors. Most were weak, many were manipulated, some ruled for only months. The throne became a prize in court conspiracies rather than a seat of real power. Imperial authority trembled, and the empire began to fracture from within. Chapter 2: The Shadow of Weakness. As central power weakened, provincial governors began acting independently. Nawabs in Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad ruled like kings in all but name. Revenue no longer reached Delhi. The Mughal army, once feared, was unpaid and undisciplined. Corruption spread through administration. Loyalty was replaced by ambition. The Mughal emperor was still called the Shah of Hindustan, but his authority barely extended beyond the walls of Delhi. Chapter 3: Nadir Shah's Devastation, 1739. The greatest blow came not from within, but from outside. In 1739, Nadir Shah of Persia invaded India. The Mughal army, weakened and disorganized, could not resist him. At the Battle of Karnal, the Mughal forces were decisively defeated. Nadir Shah marched into Delhi, unleashing one of the most brutal massacres in Indian history. For days, the city burned. Thousands were killed. The treasury was emptied. He carried away unimaginable wealth, including the legendary Peacock throne and the Kohinoor diamond. This single invasion shattered the prestige of the Mughal Empire beyond repair. Chapter 4: The Afghan Invasions. As Mughal power crumbled, another threat emerged from the northwest. Ahmad Shah Durrani, founder of the Afghan Durrani Empire, invaded India multiple times. Between 1748 and 1767, he launched repeated attacks, devastating Punjab and northern India. The most significant was the Third Battle of Panipat, 1761, a massive and brutal conflict between the Afghans and the Maratha Confederacy. Though the Marathas were defeated, India was left exhausted and fractured. The Mughal emperor, reduced to a figurehead, could do nothing. Chapter 5: The Rise of the East India Company. As Indian powers weakened each other, a new force quietly rose in the shadows. The East India Company, originally a trading corporation, began to exploit the chaos. With superior organization, financial backing, and military tactics, the company expanded its influence. Key moments: Battle of Plassey, 1757. Battle of Buxar, 1764. These victories turned a trading company into the real ruler of India. The Mughal emperor became nothing more than a symbolic figure living on a pension. Chapter 6: The Last Emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar. By the mid-19th century, the Mughal Empire was a shadow of its former self. Bahadur Shah Zafar, a poet and mystic, became the last Mughal emperor. He had no real power, only a title and a palace. In 1858, during the Great Indian Rebellion, rebels declared him the symbolic leader of the uprising. But the revolt failed. The British crushed the rebellion and exiled Bahadur Shah Zafar to Rangoon, Myanmar. With his exile in 1858, the Mughal Empire officially came to an end. Epilogue: The End of an Era. The Mughal Empire lasted over 3 centuries. It rose through ambition, flourished through vision, and fell through division. From Babur's conquest to Aurangzeb's expansion, from the grandeur of the Taj Mahal to the quiet exile of its last emperor, the Mughal story is one of glory and tragedy. Though the empire fell, its legacy remains alive in India's culture, language, architecture, and soul. The Mughal Empire may have ended in 1857, but its shadow still shapes history.